Hey folks, what's going on, everybody?
Hi everybody. Yeah, it's going to be a big fight tonight.
Yeah, we're just getting into it. We're gonna have time. We got three classical games in store. 90 plus 30. They're just getting started. This is actually, I think, one of my absolute favorite time controls. Period. Like over the board chess, I really like 90 plus 30. No second time control. Just one time control. You manage your time however you want. You get your 30 seconds, so you don't flag.
Too fast for me. But I realize it's become the standard. At least it was the pre-COVID standard. I suspect it's going to be the post-COVID standard too.
But don't you get exhausted playing 2 games a day with the longer time controls?
Well, that's probably why it shouldn't be 2 games a day. But Mitch in the chat says, "Been a while since I've been on the sidelines." And Ghosty, I was just telling Ghosty the story. So we had a 4th game that was gonna be really exciting between Ryoba Kajet, aka Joel, my student. He was going to be facing off against Shock Masteo, the famous Shock Masteo, but Shock bailed in the last second. Then I tried to set him up with Mitch, and Mitch was game, and he was like, "Let's go." But Joel had already made plans after his lover shunted him. So
Props
there
to
we
Mitch for being ready to play.
That's right. Big matchups tonight. I'm really excited about it. I'm bummed about Joel not being there, but we got several matchups. Let's just start with what we're going to call the key matchup, which is my student against Kostya's student. That's going to be Sully as black in this position that we got on the side here, the Nimzo position. And he is playing strong chess, aka Todd Bryant. And I think Todd is a probably slightly better player, but Sully's got youth on his side. And already Sully's played a couple of inaccuracies, though. Let's just say a couple things. Todd normally does not play d4, and this kind of position, this Queen c2 Nimzo stuff, I think requires a lot of finesse, both endgame and middle game finesse, to play it well. And even if black plays some slight inaccuracies as he's done here, I still think it's going to be really hard to actually prove much for white.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. So Todd used to be a d4 player, as far as I understand, switched to e4 a little while ago, maybe 1 or 2 years, and started picking up a lot of repertoires like the Negi books and some stuff on Chessable. So it's interesting he chose a d4 for this game. Maybe a specific prep against Sully being a kid. He wanted something a little bit more positional or technical or slower. Not sure. I'm just kind of trying to read into Todd's choice.
Right.
But I'm surprised you said that black has already made inaccuracies. I feel like this is totally playable for black, no?
Definitely playable, and I'm sure you can actually find some GM games in this very position. But I'll tell you what, let me grab this and meet me in the back cave, and I'll try to break this down, and I'll even tell a little story about this. So I'm going to introduce this by saying there's this funny thing, this argument that me and Kostya have been having. And that is, how much value do openings give you? And the hypothetical, which is not a hypothetical, I'm glad we're going to ground it in this current game. The hypothetical was, if you had somebody who was around master, but who's like strength, and that was their rating, but their openings were terrible. They really just openings that weren't worked out and not a lot of understanding behind them. How many points would it be worth if they really had a worked out opening repertoire? And Kostya's instant intuitive reaction was 250 points. And I was like, no way is it worth that much. And so it's kind of an interesting intuitive question, just how much prep is worth. And the person I had in mind was very much Sully here. I've been coaching Sully for a while. Just really hard to, the kid does not really even know how to use ChessSpace yet. He doesn't enjoy using ChessSpace. He doesn't really like thinking about the openings too much. And so his openings are, for the most part, terrible. Now, like any 2200 player, he's played a lot of games, so it's not like he's completely without familiarity. But the Nimzo Indian, I think, is a good example of a position, a kind of position where you need to have some knowledge of, let's call it the classics, and different structures. Just so many different structures can happen in the Nimzo Indian. And let me just give my little, just because I played this kind of thing so much. So Queen C2, my friend David Vigorito wrote a book about this Queen C2. And I feel like especially this immediate A3 has fallen a little bit out of fashion. And I think rightly so. Not only is there very violent things with D5, C5, but also it's just so many ways for black to now fight it. And so one thing, this is partly my fault. I told the kid, I was like, listen, if you do this and you don't know what's going on, you can always play D6, E5. And you will not be lost. You will just be fine. And I did a video on that you guys can watch if you want, called The Flamingo.
The Flamingo.
Just very basic. You trade your dark square bishop, and then by playing D6, E5, you activate your light square bishop and put your pawns in the opposite color of that bishop. Okay, so let me try to break it down why D6 I think is at least a small inaccuracy. If you compare B6, Bishop G5, Bishop B7. There are several approaches here for white, but one of the major ones is the ambitious F3. And on F3, you want to be ready to smack out with D5. I think that's a significant thing. So now the question is, am I right that this is a mild inaccuracy with here? And if I'm right, I think Todd should be playing F3 in this position. There's still a lot, loads of things still going on. But even knight F3 would annoy me a little bit, but F3 is the main one that would annoy me if I was black here. And let me just set the stage by saying this Queen C2 Nimzo, almost every Nimzo actually, one of the things I like it so much about it for black is usually black has an advantage in time in exchange for the dark square bishop for the knight exchange. So, the people who play queen, especially this particular variation, are bishop fiends. They are absolute bishop fiends. And it's actually, I think, very difficult to play long term, like understanding how the bishop can work to your advantage, like even when it goes well. And that's one of the things about Vigorito's book. I was like, oh, are these people really going to understand like the deep and dark secrets of the Fischer ending and everything else you're going to need to know to play this well?
I'm with you. I used to play the Queen C2 Nimzo, but I suffered, because these positions are like, they're just very simple for black, and you have to be so delicate with white, and you have to handle a lot of different structures and nuances. But I think it's really good for Todd to go here because, like, I think this is the side of his game that he can really work on. I think he's like much more comfortable in more like sharper and more forcing positions. So here he'll really have to kind of think about how to just like slowly massage and improve his position. I do like the plan you mentioned with F3. I would say even playing like E3, F3, and then Bishop D3, Knight E2 seems like a pretty comfy setup for white. I mean, I think black does have a right to play like this, but they got to be pretty precise here with maybe a quick E5 or like Queen E7, E5.
Yeah, and let me just mention a couple things here. Black, if he, just put it this way, the worst case scenario that can really happen to him if he just plays natural moves is that white catches up in development. When that happens, you just got a slightly worse position. That's all. That's the only punishment that you're going to get, is a slightly worse position. So, very strong players as black have developed all kinds of ways to be active, often sacrificing a pawn to keep that initiative going for black. But that's why it's so difficult. And even here, by the way, like one of the things is such a bummer for white is black, like you said, he's just doing obvious moves. He's not barely even thinking, I don't think. So, like, when you think about moves like f3, e4, it's very ambitious, and you have to worry about counter-strike stuff, such as if a pawn's on e4, d5, you always have to worry about knight takes e4. Always got to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mitch says f3 Nimzo for the win. And one thing that's interesting about the f3 Nimzo is I feel like there are some similarities to the queen c2 in that instead of being a bishop fiend with the f3 Nimzo, you're being a space fiend. And in both cases, black is going to get that time advantage, and that's where it's going to be dangerous.
Yeah. F3 Nimzo is really violent. I mean, I think that's a real, like, don't try this at home type of opening when you see, like, the top GMs play it.
Right.
Yeah, you got to be really careful with that one. One opening that I feel like just feels much easier for white at lower levels is the Catalan. I just feel like so many people struggle against it, and as white, if you're a player who's just comfortable with like your play and you know exactly what you're doing and when you can sacrifice your pawn and how you can get compensation, yeah, those positions I feel like are really like unpleasant for black, even though theoretically they're considered not that dangerous.
That's interesting. I have some sympathy with that point of view, but as someone who played the Catalan for years and still occasionally does, like, I feel that when you're successful in the Catalan, yeah, you're really squeezing the tiniest drops of blood out of a very small advantage. And then, right, when you do, you need conversion skills, kind of like this thing. And it was interesting that you identified Todd as being a very forcing player, and I that was my sense of him too. And right, this is not his kind of position. And where Sully is actually strong is the kid's a fighter and a good tactician. So, like, he has his position. I would say in most areas of the game, he's weaker than Todd. But the reason he's close to him in the rating is just that natural talent and, fighting ability. Like, actually, I've worked with him a bit, and he's had so many positions where I felt he was positionally lost, and I think he was. But he'll fight on in a kind of stubborn way, and he's very good at finding little resources to prevent himself from admitting that he's worse. Right? In a lesson, I'm sure you've had that kind of student too.
No, definitely. Well, speaking of the Catalan, but well, Jesse, do you remember the first game that we played way back when?
Vaguely, yeah.
It was like Catalan Tarrasch. And I felt like I really suffered that game. Like, I didn't even get out of the opening.
That's fine. I have to admit, I didn't remember the opening. I remembered that I used a Polgar Maiden 2 at the end.
I remember that. Yeah, I can show if people want to see it. But I thought like that was a good example because I mean I was maybe 21, like 50 at the time or something.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had played like a different position, I don't think it would have been like that. Like, you won the game in like 15, 20 moves. I was just dead, like, because I didn't know what to do, like, right out of the opening.
But even that, actually, take that as an example. There's so many ways that black can play because it's less forcing. So that was at a time in my chess, like, when I was still I had worked out a lot of the Catalan lines. And so I had some inside knowledge on how to play those kinds of positions. But that takes a lot of work just because there's so many different ways for black to play those positions. That's why I would say, yeah, if you're just, if you're under 2,500, don't mess with it. play like, I don't know, there's a lot of different ways to play. But, play some system where you just get your pieces out easily.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's take a look at, let's go to John Davis. How about that?
Yeah.
Very interesting situation. So he's playing Eric, my student here. And Eric also plays the Smith Mora. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's ever had to face the thing.
Wow.
you know.
Funny.
But I guess let's go back to like this actually, I'll tell you what, I'll grab the PGN and we can talk about it, because I have a question. Maybe it's more of a practical question for you.
Well, I like that Eric played knight f6. I think this is really smart, because if this is what he normally does against the Alapin, then I think there's no drawback to this for black whatsoever.
Well, okay, but then he took on c3. Then
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't, and that's what John Davis wants. I would have said in that position like d5, right? Isn't d5 a good move there?
I imagine d5 is theory, or knight c6 and then d6.
Yeah,
it's probably theory.
Something like that. Yeah.
Do you happen to know what Eric does against the c3 Sicilian?
Yeah, I do. He's often been playing the d5 stuff. So.
Oh, well, there's a problem. So then maybe he would have to go d5 in this position if he wanted
I know,
to.
know for a fact too that like he's just never faced this. He does it. He's played it. It's funny. I think it's oftentimes hard, and this people at the top say this too. It's oftentimes hard to play against your own opening. And he played d takes c3 and move 6 like just pretty quickly in a minute. I mean, it was the first kind of real think in the game for him, but he did play it quickly. And then I'm gonna say John Davis just has full compensation.
Yeah, with the game position, right? It looks dangerous.
Definitely something that John Davis would, at the very least, enjoy. And he didn't get his d5 off either, and now actually has a bit of grief figuring out what to do. I'm going to assume you got to do something a little bit ugly like f6 now in the game position, right?
It might be like only move. Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling that Eric is just not sensing the danger of why he might be worse here. It's like he's kind of allowed this very casually, like with Queen E2 and Rook D1 coming.
Yeah, and I think he must have realized it when he played E6, because he thought for 2.5 minutes on it. Now, I'll say this. I think John Davis, we've seen some great attacking games from him. Despite the fact that I don't like Eric's position that much here, I'd be amazed if Eric didn't win this game. Eric is a genius, man. That kid will come to hurt you. I would say if Eric gets himself in real trouble, it's going to be time. He's one of the few kids that has trouble with time pressure. And I think, although I don't like this position that much for black, I think after f6, he's not much worse after f6.
Huh.
I mean, it's unpleasant, don't get me wrong, but because once you get f6, you will eventually, those pawns will disappear, and then you can play d5, and there's just a game that's going to happen. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really skeptical just looking at it. We could analyze this one for a bit. To me, it looks really nice for white.
Okay, yeah, no, I feel your intuition. Okay, so let's play f6.
Yeah, I was thinking takes.
Okay, I don't know which way. I'm going to try the rook.
Rook, okay.
And I just want to play d5 as soon as I can.
So let's go bishop g5.
I was anticipating g3, but all right. This should be all right. So we'll just go back, see what you want.
Here.
I'm sorry, this is probably all correct. I just have to look. Rook f3, bishop e7, knight d4. No, you're winning a piece at the very minimum with bishop d8. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was drawn to it. I was like, I gotta look. Okay, h4, good move. I'm gonna play d5 as my stated.
We'll go here.
Good. And
So Piston Head was asking that they're super bored with the c4 g3 Englishes. So what should they play instead that is in the same vein? So they want to change, but just not too much.
You know what I think would be good, actually, that you could study some classical games and apply it in an interesting way is and so many people would just not be aware of the subtleties, is the Botvinnik English. I think that's really interesting.
That could be a good one. That's with c4, knight c3, g3, bishop g2, and then this knight on g1 always goes to e2, and pawn goes to e4. Like
right.
d3.
There's some move order questions, and what's cool about it is the computer doesn't like it because of the hole on d4, but there's some great positional understanding that you can utilize in those positions. Okay, I'm taking forever here, Kostya, thinking about what to do in this interesting position. I'll tell you what, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to play bishop b7.
Okay, that's fine. I'll show you.
Oh, he's going to show me something. I'll show you. I'll show you, buddy.
I'll show you my idea. Okay, I'm going to go here.
So, I am a French player, and that is what I do. Yeah, so two pawns, obviously. Yeah, it's actually hard to say who's better and why, honestly. I don't know. Let me just say the obvious things. The knight on c3, you know, the argument for black really is that those pawns are messing with your attack, and really you only have two pieces that are on me, the bishop and the queen. And I have control of the blockade squares.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I really wanted with white from the position, so I can definitely admit that. I don't know, I feel like white is still, like, I would still take white here, I think, but
well, I'll
yeah,
tell you where I would take white. I'll tell you where I would take white is if black didn't play ace f6 and instead played a6. Yeah. He played a6, man. That's no bueno.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say, Jesse. I'm more in tune with how these positions play out at lower levels. I'm just closer to this level.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that was actually a really instructive line, how you just took on f3. I was really surprised by that, actually. I didn't realize that was coming.
I'm Armenian school, buddy.
Yeah, I should have. I should have seen it. So now, I mean, this gives white time to do knight e4, rook d1.
I mean, honestly, I don't... Obviously, a6 is a move that's consumed by fear of some kind of knight b5, d6 thing. Any move by white is going to be a vast improvement in the position, right? Any move. Rook 81, knight e4, rook fe1, it's all good.
Yeah.
And I don't, if it's like black's move now, I don't know what we're doing if it is not called f6, right? I don't know what it is. If it isn't f6, I don't know what it is. And the bishop on, it's not the king that worries me immediately so much. It's the stupid bishop on c8, and I have no idea how the kid wants to get that thing out.
Yeah.
Because f6, at least we're going to eventually get to play d5.
I think it's just one of those things people do where it's like they don't see how they're immediately getting mated or losing material, so you kind of feel like we're okay, but Yeah, I mean, a couple
Yeah.
moves, White's initiative is going to be overwhelming.
Well, okay, let's leave that disgusting position for black and look at Vishnu. Vishnu got himself an endgame. He's got himself an endgame. Let's meet in the back cave and see what we're talking about here.
Marathi. Vishnu likes this one for black.
He's been doing this. I don't think it was Eugene Perelstein who got him into this, but he's definitely playing like a Eugene Perelstein repertoire. A lot of his moves have been.
If I recall correctly, I think he mentioned something about the Raja Panjwani book on the Accelerated Dragon. So that might be what his repertoire is based off.
So there's several plans here, of course. The most default one is Bishop E3 and Queen D2.
Yeah.
A great plan that I really liked a lot is what Karras did. He played Queen E3 and Bishop D2. Now, Bishop G5, it's got to be okay. It's hard to imagine there's something wrong with Bishop G5. Castles.
I mean, it is unusual. I'm very familiar with, or very used to seeing Bishop E3.
Right, so maybe the one question about Bishop G5 I have is what's going on after Queen A5?
I think Queen D2 would be the idea.
Right, because on Queen E3 I have Knight E4.
Yeah. Yeah, normally Queen goes to D2 in this line, so it's also interesting that White put it on E3. Not necessarily good or bad, because sometimes the Queen does go to E3 eventually, so maybe he can save time by putting it there immediately. It's not clear.
Right,
yeah.
So let's say part of the question too is like, is the bishop a victim or is it really doing something on G5? Huh, okay, well, do you know anything about Vishnu's opponent here, by the way?
I think if I know who this is, I think their name is like Michael in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong though, because there's like a couple of players like I mean his chess.com username is LeeChess.org, which is very funny. There's also some guys in the Discord whose name is LeeChess.org, so it gets confusing. I'm not sure exactly who's who.
I don't know if there's an immediate problem with Bishop G5.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a move.
He spent 3 minutes on it, which suggests he's just kind of making it up as he goes along, which is probably fine.
That is the correct. Like, yeah, if it was less, we would assume it's prep, and if it was more, then he really spent some time on it.
So castles, Queen E3. And right, so if we compare it to the Karras position, the bishop would be on D2 here. And part of the idea of the Karras position is to make Queen A5 difficult, right?
Yeah.
So maybe knight Queen A5 is better. Let's see what Vishnu does. He plays Bishop E6, castles, Queen B6, and this came up actually a lot in Karras's games when he played with the bishop on D2, is people were playing Queen B6 against him, and Karras was basically saying, no bro, I have a very nice ending. So snip and rook, and now we're gonna get an ending. Now let me just preface this by saying, in Kosianar's, in my experience, people are playing the ending way too fast and are playing these kinds of positions without realizing how intense and deep they are. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time. White spent 6 minutes on Queen B6 and then played Rook AC1 kind of quickly. I'm just going to say, to me, Rook AC1 does not look right.
How come?
It's a fair question. Well, the obvious question is going to be, is the A2 pawn in trouble via some tactic? So let me start off with the obvious, Rook FC8.
Yeah.
I assume the guy's intention is b3.
Right.
And then I'm going to play either h6 or the immediate knight d7. I don't know which one yet. Just for kicks, let's put in knight d7. I don't know. Maybe you can take on e7 and claim something, but I kind of doubt it. Right? And I have a simple threat of, at some point, b5. But okay, actually, maybe just, no, because if a4 here, then knight c5. This is the kind of typical garbage that black players can drum up.
Okay, let's think here. What about...
And while you're thinking, I just want to mention, well, I could have thrown in h6 before, but I thought that white would then be able to play bishop d2, and that would be important in some tactical variations. But of course, I might also be pushing my luck by hanging the e7.
Yeah, what is going on if we just take on e7?
All right, let's take a look. So bishop e7. And here I was going to snip on c3.
Yeah.
Play rook takes a2. And then you got to do something clever with your bishop.
Right, well, let's just go, let's just park it on f3.
Okay. b5. Maybe d3 was where it needed to be parked.
Maybe
I don't know.
Park it on d3. Yeah, I mean, it's not as safe, but more useful, huh?
I mean, I have no idea. I'm just, just throwing out some variations here.
Yeah.
But even here, it seems like I'm going to have enough counterplay. That was just a rough and tumble variation. Let's see here. We presently have rook fc8 on the board, and Lee Chess is thinking about it. So let's put that. Let's go back to rook fc8. By the way, chess.com gnomes, if you were listening, something that I have a problem with. I know they're not listening, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. When I go back, when I flip the board and then leave the board to go somewhere else, when I come back, it unflips me.
It never keeps the flip.
Is that you're having that problem too, right?
Yeah, it never keeps the flip.
You guys, it used to keep the flip. I'm certain of it that used to keep the flip. Where's my flip?
Must be possible.
Where's my flip?
It remembers the position. It must remember like whose side we wanted to see it from. It must be able to.
The other thing, chess.com knows, this is also important. Back about, I'm going to say about a year and a half ago, it used to be possible. And it was you're sharing an analysis board. Say you're giving a lesson with somebody. If I flipped the board, it would also flip for my student. And now it's not doing that anymore. So I'm trying to say, gnomes, I know you're listening, gnomes. You've lost control. You've lost control of your platform.
Yeah, now the students have to flip it on their own. I've had issues with that because some of my students, they don't hear me when I say it's black to play or white to play. And like, I'm sure I said it maybe once or twice, but then it turns out they've been looking at it from the wrong side for 5-10 minutes. And it's a bummer, but I don't know what to do about that.
We got a question. How do you get involved in Sunday night fights? And basically, if you go to any of our YouTube videos, there's a Discord invite right underneath them in the description. You click that thing, you get on Discord, and we have a ladder, which is always going on, so you can always find people in the ladder. Very easy to join that thing. And we also are running tournaments that are happening all the time. And we try to cover some of those games. You don't have to play on Sunday nights at 6, but if you do, we will cover the game. So that's how you get onto the show.
Yeah. Now, the ladder is currently on break. I feel like people might even be upset because people have been waiting for the ladder for a while, but I promise it is starting soon. And the ladder is great because, yeah, that's open to everybody, and you can just find opponents off the list and just challenge them directly and set up games for whenever you like. So that is a very cool resource that will be back soon, I do promise. And I think actually we'll be doing some new round robins soon as well, because the Masters tournament is kind of wrapping up. Some of these round robins are starting to finish up as well. So we might have more new events opening up soon if you are interested in playing 90 plus 30 specifically.
Let's go back to, I'm going to call it our game of the day, just because I think there's so much tension for both of us. I again am the coach of Sully, who is playing black, and if you want, there's every Monday, I believe, it's Norm Hunter. That's with right. Kostya and Todd. So they're going to be talking about this game tomorrow. Let's pull this up here on the analysis board. And when we left it, again, I have to flip it because the chess.com gnomes. F3 was played. Very nice.
Interesting.
Very nice. Let's see how long he took on that. 14 and a half minutes. By the way, I just want to give a little background. The first time Sully played on Sunday Night Fights, it was kind of like his first big online game. And he hadn't, I think it takes practice, you know, to get in the rhythm of playing online. Anyways, he did terribly. Then he crushed last Sunday. Our dear Mitch Favid, who is watching. So anyways, here, E5. Now here was a big question for White. D5, there's a lot of question marks around D5 for me. A, you don't really want to close the position. And two, I'm worried about knight takes D5 tricks. So let's look at what happens. C6, E4, C takes, and now Todd is thinking about the recapture. Let's do the natural recapture first and just see what happens. So C takes, knight takes D5, bishop D8, knight C3. Okay, so if pawn takes knight, rook takes bishop, black is, let's say, better.
Yeah.
So you got to do something like bishop E7.
Right.
And now I got to think about it for a touch. What is going on here? Rook E8, bishop D6, knight A4, and black should be fine. Interesting question. I don't know, Kostya. That's kind of hard for me to read.
Well, I think it still keeps going. Like white starts bishop B5 here, and I don't know. I think white could still be optimistic.
I'm with you. I understand that optimism, yeah.
I don't know. Knight B6, A6. Black starts to wiggle out.
Big questions involved. Anyway, so that's this question of the knight takes D5 is going to be on everybody's mind. Of course, black doesn't have to take knight takes D5. And to, I'm going to say a large degree, we have, I think, at the very least, a very acceptable flamingo position for black, right? And by the flamingo, I just mean black got rid of his bad King's Indian bishop and now has his good bishop on C8. And, you know, he can play as if he's got a good King's Indian. Now, the question is, though, if he doesn't have any weird knight D5 stuff, did he want to play C6? That's where it gets kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, these positions are always really tricky with the two bishops and space advantage. Another option should be mentioned here. White could just play like E4 without playing D5 and just allowing black E4.
Exactly. And one of the things I've seen from the specialists of the Queen C2 Nimzo is they understand that their advantage, because it consists that unopposed dark square bishop, that their advantage is really all about keeping the position, eventually at least opening the position, right? You need to open the position for the bishop to show its quality. And that's where, yeah, D5 didn't look right to me. There's a lot of things that seemed funny about D5 to me.
Okay, pop quiz for the chat. Who is really good at these Queen C2 Nimzo positions? I mean, there's a lot of players, but I can tell you if you're right or not.
Yeah, you can tell if I'm right or not. You know who was really good, actually? Irina Krush was really good at those positions.
That's true. So that's a true answer.
But that's probably not who you were thinking of.
No, I'm thinking of a few players, but I don't know. Maybe there's some that will be more surprising for players than others.
Uh-huh.
Nakamura? Wow, actually, I didn't even know Naka played the Queen C2 Nimzo. No, he wasn't on my list. I feel like he just plays way too many things. I don't know. I've never thought of him as a Queen C2 specialist. Also thought he was more of an F3 guy.
I'm really spending a little time here thinking about this D5 move by White. Like, let me just say, Kostya, can we just, I'll tell you what, let's just do this for the benefit of strong chess. Let's say I play, I'm not even sure about that. Let's say I play after Rook E8. Let me just show you my idea. E4, yes, there's some kind of weird knight takes E4. Not even sure I want to do it, but I was thinking, look, wouldn't it be a simple lifestyle if I played H6 with just let me scratch Rook E8. I'm just going to play H6.
Okay.
And then Bishop E3 would be weird, but
yeah, Bishop H4.
Bishop H4. Okay, Rook E8, and I just want to play Knight F8, G6, as if I'm a King's Indian player.
Yeah, I don't really buy it. I think White is happy. Like, let's say, here.
G3? I don't know.
Yeah, I just go G3. Rook F8. Yeah, it was funny actually. Someone, I think Vishnu was on Twitter today saying like the value of a tempi still counts in closed positions.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to be like, no, it doesn't. Like, look at this, like Rook F8.
Well, I mean, granted, it's not something I'm terribly pleased with, but I had to move my knight off of D7.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, Bishop D3.
should be natural at least, knight H7. Yeah, I think black has nice play.
I don't know. I think white should be better.
Now, here we go. We are bishop queen. Oh, here's another interesting thing about bishop queens. Sully is, it's funny, like, most people who've grown up in the age of computers prefer the bishop just because the computer prefers the bishop so much.
Yeah.
Sully has made a point to me on numerous occasions that he thinks the bishop is not as cool as the computer thinks. And for sure, that suits a Nimzo player just fine to have that personal philosophy.
Yeah.
But why are you okay here? I'm playing F5 here. I got knight G5 in the wings. I'm castled. You're not. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Yes, you got a bishop. So what?
I don't know. I think even here white should be better. I'll figure something out. We can go. Yeah, let's just go h4.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that. F5.
5.
Attack on the wing is met by attack on the center.
Alright, I'll castle.
There it is. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Kasparov, he was a big queen c2 Nimzo guy. Kasparov is a big one.
I wouldn't say he would.
No?
That was funny you said that. I feel like he like a lot of things, he played it a couple times, but it's not like he was a huge expert in the position or something like that.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
Yeah, he wasn't the top name on my list, that's for sure.
oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I understand, because somebody mentioned
Mm-hmm.
something like 97.
Okay, here.
Something like 96. Who are you thinking of, Kostya, for your expert, your Queen C2 Nimzo?
Okay, you guys ready? The big queen c2 guy. I think you should study if you want to play queen c2 Nimzo. Magnus. I think he's a real Mozart.
He is a real Mozart, but it's not the first name to think of when you're thinking about the.
No, he's had many very nice wins.
Uh-huh.
Many good games with the two bishops specifically. So had big influence. Yeah, it's. I can see why this is annoying for white.
Well, let's go back to D5. This is just it was a good sample variation,
Right.
And you know there might be something more effective than what I did, and clearly, Sully thinks with C6 that he is being more clever, and maybe he is. Maybe I haven't thought about it enough. Todd is really thinking, oh my God, things escalated rapidly actually in our absence. He played ED, and that does not look right to me.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. It's hard to explain why that is exactly, but I guess I have trouble putting into words why this is so much worse, or at least feels like.
Now you got to worry about E4 pushes. You've lost the center pawn, so later F5 can be very strong. And you block your bishop on F1 is blocked. So in that variation, for example, where you hit me with bishop B5, that's a very useful move.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like this. I think Todd's created a problem for himself. And, you know, the other bummer about these kind of positions is, like, Todd's clearly, like, burning the midnight oil over there trying to figure out what to do. And the kid's just like, okay, put the rook on the same file as the king. And then poor Todd has to figure it out, man. Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a very reactive style. It's like, okay, you play ED, I guess I'll go rook E8, you know, your move.
Your move, buddy, that's right. And I don't know, I'd definitely rather be black now.
Yeah.
I mean, bishop D3 is going to get, I assume, hit by E4.
Right.
And E4 might just come anyway at this point.
Yeah, if you castle, then like bishop F5 is super unpleasant. It's like knight C5
and let's mention our old friend knight takes D5.
Yeah, that can happen at any moment.
Our old friend is always going to be there.
I think we should go back to John's game with Eric because.
All right, yeah. Because Eric's getting hosed the last time I saw that. Oh God, things have happened.
It's a mess.
Hold on, hold on.
It's a total mess.
Weird stuff has happened. Let's grab this thing here.
Yeah.
Oh man, Eric, what are you doing, buddy? I mean, he played some ugly moves. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. I saw the ugly moves, and I was like, Eric, I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna steer Coast you away from your game so we don't have to look at it, buddy. So here was the first chess crime: A6, Rook FD1. Actually, let me just say, Rook FD1 gotta be a fine move. It's the instinct of a Smith-Morrow player, right? To put the F rook on D1 and the A rook on C1.
Yeah.
They could have done other things. Knight A5 makes me want to really wince. Bishop C2, and now he finally plays F5.
But I really feel like Rook FD1 isn't right. I mean, I think as white you have to anticipate that at some point black is going to want to play either D5 or F5. Like black can't survive without these moves. And then the rook on E1 is going to be useful in almost all cases.
Okay, but let's say some obvious things here. After F5, let me just say Knight A5 is a really ugly thing. And clearly, at that point, after Rook FD1, Eric was like, oh no, now I can never play F5 because of some kind of Bishop E6 thing. So that induces him to play Knight A5, where the knight is truly an ugly beast.
Yeah.
Right? Truly ugly. And now Knight D4 by John Davis, maybe, but just EF, and I'm going to say white is clearly better.
Yeah, actually, I think should have taken. Yeah.
I'm just going to guess if you put that into the engine, it's going to say winning, because not only are you down so much time, but the bishop on C2 is open, the knight on A5 is loose, the knight on B6 loose.
Yeah.
Bishop on C8 terrible. And in general, when you have so much of an advantage in time, you want to open the position. Right? Yeah. So those, like, all the roads pointing to him taking the thing on F6.
Right. Yeah. Strange why. I think, yeah, definitely should have done this, because if you leave F5 on the board, you shut down your bishop on C2. It's a big problem. And bishop on F4.
Let's say something else kind of obvious, though. That bishop on C8 hasn't moved yet, and I don't know how you move it. He's really done himself a disservice over there.
Yeah.
So, but I'll tell you this: G4 is, like, maybe the computer tells you that that's right, but that's just not what you want to do. Yeah. There's so many ways to work against those stupid knights. And now after Queen G6. I mean, of course I believe in white, but we've made it more complicated than we wanted it to be.
Right.
I'm assuming H3 or something like that. Right? I don't know.
Well, actually, King H1 is a thought.
King H1. Yeah, King H1 is a thought. Though you're going to have to figure out Queen takes G4 there. It might be a little hairy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like this G4, Knight D4 and G4, because he's spending all this energy trying to break through, but like you could have broken through here. Your opponent gave you like golden opportunity to break through with EF.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, there's like black's pieces are doing so little, and then I honestly I'm sure G4 is still winning. Just play a calm like H3, and I'm sure you're doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong, and black's pieces are just so terrible. We've seen a couple games from Eric where he, it's funny. He plays the Sicilian, he plays the Nigel, and he plays it kind of like in his own way, and in the same way that my other student Sully doesn't believe in the bishop. Eric often doesn't believe in development. So I've been a lot of games where he just didn't develop his pieces, and yeah, a bit of a disaster. I'm in the middle of a rainstorm, so that's what you're hearing on top of it.
Nice. We're in the middle of a wildfire.
Oh, dude, I saw, man. It's really rough.
Yeah, the air outside is unhealthy.
How far away are you from that southern? I looked at the map last night. How's from this, like the South Bay fire? How far are you away from it?
Definitely within 100 miles or so. Yeah, it's pretty close. I don't think we're.
Definitely less than 100 miles, buddy.
Oh yeah,
Definitely
no,
less than 100 miles.
Yeah.
Because it's like on the edge of the Henry Cove Forest, which
Oh
is
yeah, there's one that's like maybe 20 miles away. Right.
yeah. That's right.
I think my area is safe for now in terms of evacuating, but yeah, the air quality has been terrible. We've had to keep all our windows closed the whole time.
Let's pull up Vishnu's game. It looks like he just played a winner, or at least a move that's in the right. It's in the spirit of the position, if we can call it.
Whoa.
And I've been the victim of this kind of thing before, so I know how this can go. So we predicted rook fc8, b3, and then I was looking at knight b7 stuff. b5 might just be much better. But there's an obvious question, which is what's going to happen after cb, right? Isn't that the question?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out. My guess is rook c3, knight e4.
That might be real genius. Yeah. Oh, very nice, Vishnu. But let's get into it a little bit. So rook c3, rook c3. Oh, that's fine. Yes, beautiful. What are we saying?
Yeah, right? I don't see anything for white.
Yeah, so b5, beautiful move.
And knight b5, then black just goes either knight takes e4 first or rook takes a2.
Yeah,
both with tempo.
Both are fine. Yeah, both fine.
And is probably doing well. I mean,
I'm gonna guess winning. Actually, I think it's just really powerful to get that rook down there. Yeah,
but still playable, right? Like rook a2, bishop d3. Are we in huge trouble with white?
That's my intuition. Yeah. Just because like that a file can't be contested. So if I just play a weenie move like king f8, all of my pieces are really better than your pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think. Maybe I'm overselling it.
Yeah.
But after knight takes b5, black has a very pleasant time to think about knight takes e4 as well.
Right.
Can't be that wrong with us.
Well, only issues like bishop takes e7, hits d6 and...
Right. That's true. I mean, you'd have to. I mean, that would definitely be the move to calculate. But for sure, it's like you don't have to think about knight takes b5 that much when you play b5. Right?
I agree. Yeah.
You just see rook a2 and you're like, I'm doing great there. So, yeah, you can think about knight e4 while he's thinking about whether or not to take it.
I mean, I would imagine that's the whole point of getting this A-B structure with these double B pawns. If you don't find any reasonable chance to play b5, then what are you doing with the structure?
Here's a comment that I'm not sure. Okay, so Mitch says Todd takes the lead with a win here. So are we talking about? Oh, the term. Okay, I get it. So Mitch has already finished the round robin, but there's loads of other games. Like Sully has loads of games left.
Yeah.
And Todd, I assume, has some games left. And so, right, that's interesting. Maybe at some point, because you can pull up the table where Mitch, he's playing so many games. He finished that thing early before a lot of other people.
He killed it. He's been super dedicated compared to everyone else. I think finished with a very decent score.
Oh, Sully's got the e4 move in. I'm pumped the way that Sully's playing this, man. This looks great.
Oh, wow.
After rook e8, Todd just freaked out and played bishop e3.
He's like I'm sick of calculating. Yeah, knight d5.
I'm sick of it.
Oh,
yeah, this is just very pleasant for black. He's still I'm like knight e5 here is the default move for black, but I'm sure that we could think about other things too.
Yeah, now white has definitely lost a lot of time. So yeah, this is where the Nimzo goes bad for white, because you're suddenly way behind. So I expect Sully to be doing really well here. Oh man, b5 ideas with the c file
Well, yeah,
opening up.
b5 and knight e5, and you're like, so happy you got your bishop, friend. Oh, and he just busted
Oh,
out b5. Just
48 seconds on this move.
he's an
Wow.
angry young man, dude. He's a very angry young man. But he's absolutely right. That's, actually, once you see it, you're like, oh, I'm playing b5. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Oh man, I don't think I. Yeah. And one of the things that's interesting about this is it takes so much skill to wield that Queen C2 Nimzo Indian thing because you're down in time, and then when you then lose more time, and then you start tanking on your clock. Oh God, this is what happens, and it's like we're move 13, and black is probably winning. I'm just gonna guess it. I'm gonna guess he's probably winning. I'd be amazed if black wasn't winning this position, right? This thing is a monster. Oh yeah.
I mean, we can. There's always ways to muddy the waters. For instance, here with white, I would be interested in playing maybe c5.
That's interesting. Okay, let's pull it. Let's do a little sparring because it'll be interesting for your discussion with him tomorrow. I assume because we're both on the same page in that at this point it's up to white to muddy the waters here. Right? That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. Okay, so c5, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy if I win like 1 out of like 4 games or something.
So, well, I'm sure I could think about this forever, but let's just take on c5 and go from there.
Okay, I take.
Right, so snap. Right. And I want to continue the process of development.
Okay, go back.
So the advantage of having the bishop on c4 is you are at least threatening to develop a piece with knight e2. I didn't say that in a cruel tone of voice. I was just I just wanted to observe what was going on. Yeah. So a move like bishop f5 or something. Now it's let's just say this is if white can get this, he's worse but not lost. So let's go back to your c5 move. It'll be really interesting actually. So this is definitely a decision where when you play c5 you're recognizing that you're much worse and you're trying to close down the c file.
Yeah, something really interesting Leiko said during the commentary with Yasser at the Magnus tournament. Really love Leiko, by the way. I feel like he's so good at explaining stuff. And yeah, he was just saying this point about how when you're worse, but you still want to maybe play for the win, like you need to create some kind of position where maybe things can go right for you. So in this case, I guess like what I'm trying to do is like get some situation where maybe I give up a pawn, but at least my king is safe for the time being, and then maybe I can get some counterplay, and then get some chances. Whereas if we just try to defend passively, then black gets all the fun and probably just wins really easily.
Yeah, and I believe a lot in black's position here, but it's clear I need to, think about exactly what's going on here. And it's funny, when I played knight c5, it was a little bit in the spirit of like, I want to win that bishop, but honestly, that bishop is more of a victim than anything else at this point.
That's true.
So, all right, let me just play a different way here. So I take with the c pawn.
Yeah, we go here.
And I'll play rook b8. and I'll just speak out loud by saying, in general, it's not just attacking. I want to prevent that knight from coming out in any meaningful way.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try bishop takes d7.
Okay.
I just feel like white needs the time.
Seems like bishop a4 is going to be strong.
Bishop a4 is very annoying. But let's see, maybe can we do anything? Ugh. d5 is hanging too. Okay, let's go back. Yeah, I don't think taking on. Okay, I guess we'll try.
So check this out. C5 was played, and my kid, he's just playing way too fast because here's an interesting thing about mudding the waters. C5, good attempt to at least,
Yeah.
And knight C5, I don't think was right. It was also, of course, I think knight C5 is everyone's first instinct.
Yeah, it seems correct to get the bishop.
But this other one, DC Rook B8, gives white more questions.
Yeah, this is much harder to deal with. Maybe bishop c6, yeah, was the move. I don't know, but still, it's not easy.
Let me just say a key difference is that bishop on E3 is an unhappy dude.
Yeah.
He's just unhappy. He's going to be a victim to the rook. And so it's just great that we're leaving him there. And after bishop c6, a variety of moves, but bishop a6 comes to mind right away. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. Yeah, bishop a6, man. Look at that. Bang. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, just nice tree. Life goes on.
Interesting. All right. Yep.
Take.
Let's go in. In addition to being pawn grumper, I kind of want that knight e4 square.
No, I feel like
It's kind of hard to know where you're gonna go.
I feel like white has so many moves. I go let's say rook g1.
Interesting. So we're assuming that if bishop d1, some kind of bishop d7 is going to hit me.
Maybe. I feel like there are other moves too.
So bishop d1.
Let me try this one.
Whoa. I like it in spirit. True muddying of the waters. Yeah.
Mitch is happy that you upgraded him during the Code Chess show to a 2600 in openings.
I saw that. Yeah, it's this funny image I keep coming back to. I dream of it at night where like some guy is like huge with his biceps and has tiny legs, and it's totally like the person who has the mega openings. So let's say this was great. This was exactly what the kind of thing that you can talk to Dude about tomorrow, because yeah, at the very minimum, you've confused things. And one thing too, with moves like bishop c6, of course, I'm encouraged to be violent with bishop a6 and yada yada. But of course, black has to be concrete, like right now, about what he's doing. And part of and that's what Dude Sully did not do when he played knight c5, because he didn't think about it at all. He must have said like, oh, that's my only move. And right, this is the position where you want to really calculate it out. I'm assuming that he's still much better, and we got the position on the board that we kind of expected. Make sure, yeah. So Todd gets to relieve himself of the awkward bishop on e3, and we have this position, bishop d7 on the board. I liked here bishop c4. And then we just have to come to an intuition. Let's say bishop c4, an intuition of how bad it is for black. I mean, for white. The obvious thing to say, by the way, is, black hasn't even sacrificed any pawns. And he's got the better development and the better king. So come on. It's a hard road still here.
But I feel like it's not easy for black to actually, like, get their pieces going.
Okay, let me try to make a better case then. So EF, I'm assuming GF.
Well, no.
No. Sorry. I'm sorry. I was, for whatever reason, I wasn't seeing. Even then, actually. Even then, you might have some serious grief. Because I have knight e4 then. So black actually has two very fine moves. And let me just say, the initial instinct, I don't want to criticize 14 knight c5 too strongly, even though I will criticize he played it too quickly. But the intuition that black should be much better here winning should be correct. So we got bishop f5 and ef as candidate moves. And rook b8, of course, you can always play rook b8. Yeah, it's an interesting position. I really, really like black, but at some point I'm going to need to take the pawn on f3 so that my knight can get active. And the challenge about rook b8 is it's not clear it's doing anything yet on b8.
Yeah. Well, good for Todd for finding the c5 and just playing it.
How about this? Let me just, for kicks, let's play bishop f5. I'm assuming you're playing g4, but I don't know.
I was thinking about g4, but I also want to see. I would try knight e2 as well.
Oh man, okay. Well, gf.
Yeah, I will take.
Queen d6.
Okay, I just go rook g1.
I think I just want to kick it with bishop g6. Might have been more fancy things, but that's what I did. Yeah, this looks terrible.
Yeah, white is worse. I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Arguably, it's
Very unpleasant.
very unpleasant. Probably lost. Black has to be accurate and everything, but probably lost.
No, queen e6 was a really strong move. I don't know where you learned that queens are good blockaders, but...
Well, it was more about taking away the knight from f4 and then using some queen f4 tricks later.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that c5 move. It is an art form to play, to muck it up.
Mm-hmm.
And Sully is playing way too fast here, man. Way too fast. He played bishop a4, so I can show you what happened here. Bishop d7, bishop c4. So you know what? You are at least in a mind meld.
That's right.
With Todd here, and bishop a4. Probably again, kind of like a lot of these moves that black is playing. They're natural moves and they cause grief. I'm assuming. My question would be, well, what if white plays b3 and says the tempo was really important to me, and that b3 actually doesn't significantly weaken my position?
Totally legit.
My concern with bishop a4. Mm-hmm. Bishop a4 way too fast. Way too fast. Yeah, Mitch says the same question I just had. Is that a useful move? Well, look at that. Me and Mitch are now in a mind meld. Look at that. I'm going to have to check my legs to see if they're shrinking. Oh, well, here, Vishnu played the ambitious one. Knight takes e4.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got himself. Let me pull that one up. That's going to be an interesting one. Okay. So. All right, so when we left it, it was this position. We anticipated knight b5 just because we didn't know what else to do. We said rook a2 is at least pleasant for black.
Right.
But Vishnu played the more ambitious knight e4, bishop e7, rook a2. And I assume is hoping that white is falling apart. But not sure. Not sure if he actually is falling apart.
Well, I guess main question is, yeah, bishop f3.
Yeah, let's ask bishop f3. And that, honestly, just at first blush, it seems like white is fine.
Maybe Vishnu wants knight d2.
Okay, but I was thinking on knight d2, if nothing else, I just sack the exchange. Why should that be worse for me, right?
Well, let's see. We go rook b8.
Okay, rook b8. Bishops. Obviously I gotta be a little careful. Just debating all these weird moves here. One cool tactic for black is if knight d6, knight f1, king f1, you could play rook b7, knight b7, rook a7.
Nice.
How about bishop f3? Assume you want my rook.
Yeah, let's take.
And now either, I think I want bishop d6. Oh, no, I'm not, I can't go to c8 if you take on b5. Okay, so just king f1. Yeah, hard for me to know. I mean, it's before. Let me just say, in that other position, on 15, rook takes a2. You got to like black. In this one, I'm just not sure what's going on.
Yeah, it's very complicated. My instinct is to go d5 though.
Yeah, let's try d5.
What it's worth.
So d5. And what I didn't understand was there's a couple things actually. What about c takes?
Yeah, just take here.
And then I was worried about all this stuff. All right. And honestly, my head's spinning a little bit. I can't. I don't know. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I'm confused too. But if white doesn't have threats, then black must be good, right? With like bishop d4 coming and.
That might be true. So actually, so in addition to c takes d5, I can do c5. I can do bishop d6. Oh no, I can't play c5. Excuse me, that's ridiculous. Okay, so bishop d6. Where does the rook, our friend the rook, go?
Oh. Can we take on c4?
I assume that's what you were going to try.
Yeah.
So here, let's just show it out and see what happens. So snip, and then snip, right?
Yeah.
And the question is, are you a genius or a fool? I don't know. So b2 is a very big threat. I mean, I'll just say I'm definitely scared.
Yeah, this looks
And-
like why we need a miracle.
And bishop c4 is on the happening too.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so let's just say big trouble in big trouble going on in this position. Rook takes a2 on the board.
I'm sure
So-
Vishnu has analyzed all this when he played b5. He likes to go deep.
But I think this is definitely a position where long variation could be wrong variation. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And the other one felt like a stable advantage. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's an interesting little debate. Oh, speaking of debates, and so let me just say,
Oh, we lost you. We lost you, Jesse.
let me just tell you my embarrassing problem. My cord,
Yeah.
it sticks in my beautiful thing. It falls out occasionally. So I gotta get a new cord, or I gotta like tape it down or something. Anyways, that's why that sometimes happens. So one thing I wanted to ask you. So, well, I'll just say first announcement. Kostya did this great video you can check out on our YouTube channel about using Puzzle Rush in a constructive way rather than a zombie way. And there's so many other sites out there. And Joel was telling me about this site. Maybe you have experience with this, maybe you don't. Called Chessimo. You know anything about that?
I've heard of Chessimo. I've heard good things.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Chessimo, which is just different from all these other options that the chess player is bewildered with out there, is you, instead of it being what I feel is a little bit random with the Tactics Trainer and Puzzle Rush, they're guided through, like, let's say, pawn end games and rook end games and all these other features of the position, which I think, and especially when I hear you talk, Kostya, you like things to be organized,
Yeah.
like skewers or pins or whatever, which I'm not. I don't have any religious feeling about. But if I did, I guess Chessimo would be my site, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Chess Emo. Anyways, yeah, there's so many things out there. I feel like there's, especially in the last couple months, there's been a mushrooming of different sites, and I guess we have to say, I guess our site is one of those, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so hard now. I mean, my feeling is that it's because of the internet and like the database that we have so many like up and coming juniors nowadays. You can just learn chess from anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there is like thousands of chess masters that learned without ever touching a computer. So it definitely can be done without like the apps and the software.
Mm-hmm.
So there definitely is no like secret sauce out there. Chessable is great, but it's not like, you still need to put in the work. You can do Chessable wrong as well, or you can do it in an ineffective way. It's like you still have to go deep and grow and try to incorporate new ideas into your play. However you can do that.
So I pulled this thing up. It's gone crazy. I don't know exactly
Yeah.
what happened, but my student has got his bishop out because precisely what I was worried about with Queen D2. Now the knight gets involved. Oh no, Queen C1, B5. Oh, John Davis. Now you're in trouble, right? He's in trouble now, I think.
But on Rook G1, how did Black not play Bishop B7 check?
It's coming anyway, but why? Yeah, good question.
Worried
Why
about
not
Bishop E4 or some trickiness?
Maybe there was some worry about that. But the point is, now we've got the 2 pawns and the compensation. White's not doing anything.
Imagine, yeah, it's just probably good for Black now.
I mean, winning, right? It's all over.
Yeah, should be.
The
Those
kid's
bishop
going
is
to
a
play
beast.
knight AC6.
Mhm.
And now, John Davis, if you ever watch this recording, you've ruined my job as a teacher because the kid's going to think he was a genius and that the bishop was coming out the whole time. No, that bishop didn't need to come out.
Yeah, I really want you to ask Eric like what happened in the game. He's like, oh yeah, I just won a pawn in the opening and that was it.
He's actually a pretty self-aware kid. I gotta say that. But still, yeah, there's this funny thing I feel actually that happens with people getting stronger, which is that their opponents punish them for bad pieces. And here Black had several bad pieces, and all of a sudden they're great, but this was not something that needed to happen. Those knights were terrible.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Blue Squares. Blue Squares participated in our first sub battle yesterday.
Oh, dude, yeah, give us a report.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll answer his question and then you can give a report. So in this position, we felt that h3 would have definitely held on to White's beautiful advantage. And let's say the obvious, the knights on b6 and a5 are awful. The bishop on c8 is awful. And what John Davis did was not only giving the pawn wasn't so bad, but it's that tempo right there, knight bc4, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Queen c1 is a negative tempo because we don't want the queen there. And then b5, simple exclam move. It's not even an exclam move, it's just getting your stuff out. And queen h5 might be a genius level move in that maybe after bishop b7 there's bishop e4. But even then, honestly, the knight on a5 is protecting the bishop. So anyways, we're getting this position and now it's just winning for Black.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear about the sub battle.
Yeah, so that happened real quick. This guy Ruben Cizilla, who is ChessZilla on Twitch. He's from Brazil originally, but he lived in DC for a couple of years, and played in all the tournaments. So you might have run into him at some point. I don't know, one of World Open or something. And yeah, he was just looking for an opponent, and I know at ChessDojo, people are always itching to play. So we set up a sub battle. The format was cool. We each had a team of about 10 players. We started from the low rated players moving on up. We tried to find like equal rated opponents for each game. And instead of club match where everyone kind of plays at the same time, this was like one game at a time. So 2 players in the spotlight, me and Ruben commenting together on their game, and yeah, you know, both teams watching. So very nerve-wracking to play under those conditions. So we won the first game. Blue Squares played like a genius game. He like got a good position out of the opening. He played h4, rook h3, rook g3, checkmated his opponent. It was beautiful. And then our team kind of got wiped after that. We lost almost every game and finished, I think, 7.5, 1.5.
Oh no,
Yeah.
man. You should have guided us away from that conversation, Kostya. I didn't want to know about that. That's terrible.
Well, no, I mean, it's just our first match, and you know, it's just some motivation for us to do better. But yeah, we'll have more matches, and that was a lot of fun.
I passed pawn. No, it does sound fun. And let me just read what Mitch said, kind of insightful. I think Sully is playing the his attack too slowly, and his advantage isn't as drastic anymore. And in fact, I'm not even sure he's better anymore.
Oh, wow.
When I look at this position.
What happened?
Right? I mean, it's the rook on b4 might just be a tourist, and White is centralized as junk. Yeah, I don't see anything special for Black. Things have gone wrong. Things have gone drastically wrong here.
Yeah, he didn't didn't get as much.
One thing I actually really enjoy about watching online chess is you can see how much time people used, and Sully basically has used nothing in the last 5 moves, and those are the 5 moves where he gave away his advantage, beginning with bishop a4, a5, and then this rook b4 thing, which as far as I can tell is doing absolutely nothing.
Sully, you can't do this. You're a master now. You gotta treat every move, you know, like it's very valuable. But yeah. Yeah,
we could be part of the next competition. I'm game. I love the competitive stuff that we've done on the channel. When we had the Sensei battle, that was really fun. I liked the vote chess stuff. Yeah, I get all riled up. It's fun. I like it. And I like
Yeah.
our Title Tuesday. That's been fun.
Yeah, I want to do some rapid as well. Maybe some like 15 plus 10 matches. Those would be good. Actually, what I've been thinking about, what I would really love is just a dedicated team of players that are ready to play like every Saturday morning, let's say like
Uh-huh.
15-10 or two games of G15, and then we just set up matches like every week against other streamers or between teams. And yeah, we just play like every week, two games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would be a lot of fun.
Well, anyways, I don't even have anything to say about this Todd situation. The Sully might finally start thinking, like I said, the kid is most dangerous when he's lost. So we'll see what he can bring. Um, yeah, that's when he turns into a real fighter. But right now, I think White is, I don't know. I'm gonna guess if you turn the computer on, the computer would say something like clear advantage for White. Right? The rooks are disconnected.
Yeah, at
Rooks
this
are
point,
disconnected.
I would take white
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
D6 also could have been played at some point, but I like rook e1.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look into Vishnu's game. And his opponent played rook fe1 instead of bishop f3, which might have been fine. Let's see. Let's check it out. And so when we left it, we had this position here. We were looking at bishop f3, and it seemed rich, but that white seemed to be kind of alive, which we thought was a little bit unfortunate for Vishnu, because it seemed like in this position, if instead of knight e4, if just rook takes a2, that seems like a solid advantage for black.
Mm-hmm.
To my innocent eyes, Kostya. In fact, let's just play a move or two because Vishnu will look back on the stream like, what, bishop d3? I don't know.
Yeah, bishop d3.
Maybe he was worried about knight c3. Maybe. You know. And on knight c3, I'm just going to play rook a3 and hold the a file. But I was going to play like king f8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not and I just have all the advantages and my king's better. I think that's the way I would see it. And if anytime knight c3, I'll just play rook a3, and I'm going to start the normal business with knight d7.
The f3. No, I agree. I think black is very comfortable. Knight d7.
Yeah. So this way with knight e4 just made things really complicated. And now rook fe1 was played. And Vishnu's rightly thinking about it. It's a mess. It's a total mess here. Presumably, rook fe1 is motivated by the idea of still playing bishop f3, but not allowing knight d2.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I don't see any star move for black immediately.
How about d5 again? Can we try this?
I want to say with that, I'm not even sure what the idea is, though. Like maybe you're saving your pawn, but yeah, I don't really know what it is you're doing. But yeah, we can try d5, sure. Let's say bishop f3.
I don't know. Knight f2. It's a total mess.
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to admit I totally did not even see knight f2. That still might be okay that I didn't see it, but I have to just first acknowledge that I didn't see it. So cd. Yeah. Maybe you can hope for some weird complications here. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, right. Bishop f3. maybe too much. Rook fe1. Let's just say the obvious. It's funky precisely because of the touch to f2. Let's look at d5 again. Another. I assume Vishnu is thinking like if cd, then rook c1, rook c1, rook e2. That could be really complicated. Huh. Yeah, Vishnu should tank on this one, but I don't. Besides d5, I don't know what he's supposed to.
Knight c5? Is that possible, or is it just knight d6?
Yeah, I didn't know what we were doing after that though. Yeah, some kind of knight d6.
Well, yeah, it's like black is super active, but all the pawns are weak, so very hard to stabilize here for black.
Exactly, that's the real problem of losing the pawn on e7. Right, the madness accelerates, and that's in White's favor, really, because he's the one that's kind of got a stable structure, and Black's more active. But now, yeah, White gets to do stuff now. He gets to play too. Huh. Pretty exciting stuff. Oh, I wanted to ask you. I'm sure the answer is no, but I just want to throw this out there. I know that you are, on a personal level, in deep quarantine, but are you thinking kind of, sort of, maybe about playing Vegas? Just like, no.
It just hasn't even been on my radar at all. Yeah. I also feel like I need to like get back into working on chess before I can play a serious like over the board tournament. Yeah.
Vishnu played knight d2, and I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think there's any advantage left for him after knight d6, but White could think about other moves as well, like bishop d1 or I don't know what. Yeah, there's nothing here for him anymore, right? Nothing fancy.
I mean, I guess knight takes d6, he wants like rook c7?
All right, let's try it. Rook c7, probably bishop g5.
Yeah, take on b3.
And then rook b1. I mean, White's the one with an octopus down there.
I don't know, first glance, I feel like black is, maybe knight d4, definitely more comfortable.
You think black's more comfortable? Okay.
Yeah, easily.
I don't get it yet, but I'm just gonna, I mean, maybe he is, but bishop f1.
Yeah, it just looks really active. We'll see if I can make something happen. Okay, how about... Okay, rook d7?
All right, I'm just going to play the ignorant move and see what terrible, terrible thing you're going to do to me. I'm going to play knight b7.
I was hoping I would come up with something by this point, but let's try bishop f5.
But then I got rook e8 and bishop
rook
h6.
E8,
Yeah.
Huh, okay, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like this is just, there's so many different moves White can play, too. There's going to, after knight d2, think about it. What are we doing? We're trying to, like, win back the pawn on b3 that we're going to lose on d6, and then we're opening up the rook on c1 to be active on b1.
I mean, well,
yeah,
I just feel like black is playing for activity. Well, can I try knight c5 on in this position?
Sure, yeah. Let's just say, okay, so I should point out that if bishop e3, I have to worry about bishop c3, but I don't even know if I'm worried too much about that. Let's say bishop e3. There was other moves too.
Yeah. Maybe. Wait, what's happening on bishop c3?
I was just going to move the rook over.
Then here.
Uh-oh. That's still okay, though. Knight b5.
Okay, go here.
Maybe you got a little something after bishop f5, you know?
Yeah.
Right, in the game, knight d2, the guy's still thinking. Yeah, lots of things. I just intuitively, I just feel like, no, it's not too much. But of course, all kinds of weird stuff can happen. I mean, it's an open tactical position. But right, my sense is like black was better before, and now it's murky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we could just not give up the e7 pawn. Yeah, that would be great.
Todd, I think, has got to be. I'd be surprised if he isn't winning here. I don't know what the kid is doing. He's losing his mind. All right,
H6.
And d6 was just played. Let's pull this up. My kid he's losing his mind. He's lost his mind. That's really interesting. You know, one thing that's interesting too about Sully is he belongs to this class of player who, let's call him the hyper optimistic. He always thinks he's better. Always. And so it's like comes as a big shock in the game when you're not. Like I feel like when he plays bishop a4, he's got to be believing that he's just simply winning or something. And in this position before bishop a4, we both thought he was better, but then he lost that critical tempo. And then rook b4, not clear what you're doing there, son. And h6, I don't know. I don't understand that move. Rook g1 is let's call it the most ambitious way.
Rook g1's nice, yeah.
Queen b8. I'm assuming there's other moves. Let me actually just say I'm not. There's the arguments against rook g1 are that the main problem is not the king, but the fact that the b4 rook is completely discombobulated from the position. So, for example, knight e4 is probably strong.
Knight e4 looks good too. Yeah, for sure.
In any case, rook g1 can't be bad. d6. Do I understand queen b8? No. Do I understand d6? You bet I do. You bet I understand d6. Yeah, things are getting hot over there.
Yeah, knight e4 is coming. I think that's probably his main idea. He just doesn't want to allow queen f4 check.
I think there's big trouble now. Now maybe the kid should think about some kind of rook takes c4, but I don't like any of it.
Yeah, no, it's been desperate for black for a few moves now, but now it's like really bad. So that's like the lack of danger. It's like now Sully's like, oh man, maybe I have a bad position here.
Yeah, that's right.
Only at this moment. You're like, oh no.
He's still not, the last couple moves he started thinking a little bit, but yeah, h6, that's a shameful move. That's a shameful move. You got to be doing something. Yeah. And queen b8, it's like just asking for b6 to happen. And maybe if you're an ultra optimist, you say to yourself some kind of story about how you're going to crash through with bishop a4, but no, it's not going to work.
Right.
Got everything covered. We don't have to go there, but just a quick update with Eric's game is that he has just continued to consolidate the position. The pieces are nasty. Yeah. And notice, you can see like people have patterns, and Eric definitely spends loads of time.
Right.
This position is good enough that he shouldn't have to worry about the time, but of course, we want a little bit more time than 22 minutes. Yeah. Here's a question that we got that I have too. Mitch asks, is Todd close to IM, or is the title of Norm Hunter for your show tomorrow just ambitious?
Yeah, I would say, right. Todd definitely has a little while to go. So it's more that he wants to get to the level where he's fighting for norms. But I think he definitely has the potential. I think his calculation is really good, and certainly almost there. I think it's just a matter of like needing a lot more experience, playing a lot of the same lines consistently just to get more of a feeling. Like the kind of opening he had today should basically never happen if he really wants to take that next step. Because with white, he was in danger of just losing
right
out of the gate. Yeah. So that's very, very risky. But this is all training, so of course it's totally fine.
What would you say? Like obviously today is a good example of some weaknesses, though. There's some weird mix of like strange opening choice plus then poor positional understanding with moves like d5. What would you say, as the coach of this great show that we're going to get tomorrow, what would you say are his the things that he has to get much better at before he is an IM?
Well, I feel like Todd is really good at positions where he's playing for the initiative. Like his last 5-10 moves have been like perfect, right? Where he just gets everything going.
Yeah.
So it's positions where he's like behind in development, and he's the one that has to kind of like contain the dynamism of his opponent, where I think he might be struggling a little bit. I would also say maybe like his positional sense is not there in every middle game that he's playing, so some positions I think he understands quite well, others he's just like not clear what to do exactly, so he might like choose the wrong plan. So definitely important to work on that. No, Todd is NM, I think, and his FIDE is actually not that high. Like most players in the US, his USCF is like considerably higher than his FIDE rating.
What's his FIDE rating?
I think it's like 2100 or so.
Oh, okay, yeah. So actually, that's funny. I feel like the dojo has, and the social media that these guys are on, have hyped up a lot of the strengths of the players. Like, I mean, I was just assuming that Mitch was like at least 2200, man. And then today on the show, we did this show with Coach S earlier, me and Coach, and Coach was like, yeah, Mitch is actually only like 1800. I was like, no, man, that guy's a GM. Man. But no, apparently not.
I would love to see like the top players like Magnus and Anand and like Aronian look at the games of like these average like 1500s, 1800s, 2100s, and then have them guess what rating they think these players are.
Well, I mean, if you guess just from like Mitch's opening, you'd be like, holy moly.
Yeah, I bet if they only watched his opening, you'd be like, oh, he's probably like 24 or 2500.
Yeah, at least, man, 2600. Now, I'm going to guess just, I follow Todd on social media and stuff, and he's posting about his training a lot. And it seems to me that his training is, what I like that he's got a real physical fitness bent, which I like. I think that's cool. He's also got like a lot of problems, I guess I would say. He's doing a lot of problems. Like you guys have that in common with liking to doing the problems. And in addition, a lot of openings, right? a lot of openings, and a lot of e4. Like you guys, for example, cover a lot of Sicilian positions with hectic e4 lines. You know,
Yeah. Actually, Todd has also been doing the Aggregate books. He's starting on them now. So he's right there with you. I think he's working on positional play.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's really fascinating to me, all these guys, because it's so hard to improve when you're older. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm doing the same struggle myself. And with a guy who's at 2,200, maybe even the show should be aimed not for IM, but first just for FM Kostya, you know? Like, we can talk about IM later, but let's first make FM, which isn't the easiest thing. You know, that's 100 points. You know, 100 points is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things I've learned from teaching older dudes is, and just seeing myself as well, it's like, if you think you're gonna gain like over 100 points within a short period of time, no, it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. You're just setting yourself up not only for weird disappointment, but also like your sense of balance and what you're doing is gonna be all funny too, because you're gonna, I think, want to have, you know, you're gonna be wanting to work on fundamentals in a way that, you know, I think produce long-term gains, but long-term gains that probably are going to be more minimal in scope. To the dreams of like Mitch when he's doing his openings, I'm sure he's imagining crushing loads of people instantly. his openings are very impressive, no doubt.
Honestly, I feel like focusing on like your rating or your strength, that really just like holds people back, because I think people just spend too much time thinking about like, oh, I'm this rating, but I'm only getting like this score and on the tactics trainer, like, or, you know, this and this, and it's like, I think you just focus on improving just some part of your game, you know, and like that's where the progress comes from. Or just we were talking with David earlier, just like learn something new, find a new position, just like expand your chess horizons, and then your rating will go up. You know, you don't have to like necessarily think about your rating that much, or like how much you want it to go up or how much you expect it to go up. You don't have to spend a lot of energy on this. You could just focus on like, you know, this month I'm going to study the games of Karpov, or this month, you know, I'm just going to look at like practical rook end games, and then you'll be a much better player by the end of the month, and then eventually your rating will go up. How much, you know, is just up to chance.
Oh, I don't think it's chance, Kostya. Come on.
No, I just mean like you'll become a stronger player, but whether you gain like 20 points or, you know, you might gain 100 points. That's the thing that always just like, I guess it amuses me on Reddit. You know, people are always asking advice, and there's always just a bunch of comments like, well, I studied rook end games for 2 weeks and then my rating went up 100 points. So I think rook end games are the secret. And then another guy's like, well, I learned the Smith-Morra and my rating went up 150 points. Like,
yeah.
It's just like, okay, different things are going to work for different people, but in general, just like find something you're interested in and put your full effort and engagement into that, and you'll get benefit from it.
Well, let me ask you, so as a coach, like, one thing that's interesting to me about your show is, you know, you're teaching someone stronger, and there's two things I guess I want to ask is, like, what is the level of responsibility that you have? And what I mean by that is, like, if you tell him to do something, is he going to do it? Or is it more like we just come and he talks to you a little bit on Mondays?
Oh, I see. Yeah, with Todd, so we actually have like a spreadsheet going where he tracks what he works on.
Right.
So originally we had planned like he was going to do a certain number of problems every day from Perfect Your Chess, and then try to go through 1 or 2 games a day from a game collection, like a book of Karpov's games or Tal's games, or he just finished Fisher's book. And so yeah, he has his like training assignment, and I mean, so far he's been very good about it, so I haven't had to I haven't had to nudge him too much.
Right.
But I think that's this is actually his design. This was almost all his idea. Like, he reached out to me looking not so much for a coach, but more like a someone to keep him on track, on schedule. You know, because he's like, I'm sitting at home, I'm in quarantine, I know I want to be better, but I know I'm not going to hold myself to it unless like someone is unless I'm responsible to someone. And so he kind of asked me to like be his accountability partner, essentially. So
let me put it this way: if you could assume like total control, which no student ever really ever, very rare for a student ever to give somebody total control as a coach, but like, how would you do it for him? How would you set it up?
Oh, hey, we're getting a raid from Mechanics Chess.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Welcome. Come on in. I was just thinking about what to say to Jesse's question. Hey, Judith. Come on in, guys. We are just covering some classical time control games here between students of the dojo. This is, of course, ChessDojo. Nice. Yeah, I was just talking about one of the guys playing Strong Chess, Todd Bryant, who we've been working with on our Norm Hunter stream a little bit. Oh, good for Sully. He did something dramatic.
He needed to do something dramatic too.
He realized he was worse finally.
Yeah, I'll put that on the board here. So he did this, and he is definitely still technically lost after the queen trade, but it's at least it's something where maybe he can dream about fighting. I'd put it that way.
Yeah, it makes it not so easy for Todd. So I don't know, I think one of the main things I encouraged Todd to do was to just analyze high-level games in his openings. Like take a position from like the King's Indian or the Winnower or whatever he's working on, and just analyze a game between two players, look at the theory. I feel like he's gotten some benefit out of that. So if it was up to me, he would be spending a ton of time on that and like actually very little on Chessable. Especially right now, like if you're not playing serious over-the-board events, I don't think there's a lot of value in like repeating opening lines. I think you should just be trying to kind of deepen your kind of overall knowledge or understanding of different positions. But I don't know how much time he spends on Chessable these days. I don't think it's actually that much. Hey, EC Winslow. Good to see you.
Nice. I think it's fascinating. I think, we did this, as I mentioned before, we did this show with Coach S earlier, and we had some strong players on, and I was wondering, well, maybe they'll be my coach. We had kind of talked about it, and, it would be kind of interesting to give up your own volition, at least for a time, to be like, okay, I surrender to you, oh great one. You tell me what to do, and I will, to my best of my ability, try to do it.
I think about that sometimes. Yeah, I think it'd be so cool to work with like a Tukmakov or like a Chernin or like a Belyavsky, and then they just look like, they take 10 minutes, look through your games, and they're like, okay, you need to study this and this, like, and then come back in 3 months, and you're like, yes, sensei, thank you.
That's funny. Well, yeah. What about when you were a kid and you were studying with the Armenians? How structured was that?
Well, it wasn't great, to be honest, just because I definitely wasn't motivated as a student. Like, I didn't really understand to what extent you can actually like work on your chess. To me, it all seemed a little bit random. Like, I didn't really get how progress happens, if that makes sense. So I would just kind of like do puzzles, and I would get some right, I would get some wrong, but I didn't really understand like what I'm supposed to do to try to get better. And like, again, I would play games, I would make some good moves, make some bad moves, and like, I would understand like, okay, I shouldn't make tactical blunders, but I just didn't really, I just feel like my understanding of chess was just very, very primitive.
But you had the guys holding your hand. They could tell you. Well, you had all the advantages, Ghost. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think a coach can only do so much. You know, I mean, it's also not always easy to explain to a student exactly like what the process is like. You know. I mean, I think I, like a lot of people, you know, we struggle forming a decent plan in positions that are kind of new to us. We just come up with something random to do. It usually ends up bad, and then we just like lose. And it's like, okay, you can learn how to maybe play that specific position a little bit better, but then next time you reach an unfamiliar position, again, you do something weird and you misplace your stuff, and yeah, again, you lose. So like you make progress very slowly. I guess skipping to the part where I felt like I was actually getting better, I think the difference was that I don't know, at a certain point I was like analyzing with the VAR, and I started to get a sense of how much deeper his understanding is of the game. I started realizing, okay, it's not just like calculation, it's not just like seeing things quickly, it's like a whole conceptual understanding of like what you should be doing in every position, and there's some kind of like correct type of plan to follow, there are incorrect plans, there's things that should kind of like that should work according to, let's say, like Soviet or classical chess logic, and things that shouldn't, and you can kind of use that to guide your thinking. And then it started kind of like making a little bit more sense to me. I also started reading Fisher's My 16 Memorable Games, and that book was a real revelation, just seeing like the types of like lines and calculations that Fisher was making. So I don't know, slowly it's like I started becoming aware of what I was missing, I guess, and then it was easier to work towards it. If that makes sense.
No,
yeah.
That's a good story. In this position, by the way, it seems to me that Eric played Bishop A8. It seems to me, first of all, he's probably winning no matter what he does. White smooth. But he miss this tactic? Let's do a little tactics trainer here. Puzzle rush. What about knight CE5? Pawn takes, knight takes D4. Looks strong, right? Because bishop B7, and I have both knight E2 and the simple rook C3.
Those look good.
Looks pretty solid, right? That's got to be a winner. That's got to be a winner. So, anyways, bishop A8 was played, and it's winning. But you know, the thing is, Eric has this huge time disadvantage now. John Davis was he moved so quickly here. You can just expect that he is going to be doing let's call it the time game, where he's just hoping to win on time at this point. And yeah, Eric has to pull it together in these final moments. He just played knight c2, pretty weird move, but I don't know I don't have any advice. The natural move for Eric here would definitely be d6 to open stuff up, but I assume other things are winning as well. Yeah, d6 looks like a strong move, right?
Good question. How would you even consider knight takes e5?
Okay, well, because first of all, the knight's hanging on d4. So if you wanted to, you could just take the thing and then play rook c7. But you notice, like, oh, if that knight on c3 were under pressure in any way, then knight e2 is happening. So my mind instantly reached for something like this. And I have a feeling there's other tricky things too, but this was just the first thing that popped to mind, where everything's going our way.
Nice.
Doesn't knight b5 work? Well, if he does knight b5, I can always throw that one in between and then play ab next move. So that's a bummer for him. You need a coach and a chessboard in your house. Yeah. There you go. Somebody yelling at you. You know, like, I think most chess players have this vision, and it has existed in times past. And what I mean by this vision is somebody who is on you. And this particularly like applies to kids. And when I think of great coaches and, you know, people like who knew a little bit, for example, were like a coach who kind of lived with a kid day for day, you know, saw him, you know, not just once a week. For example, most of the lessons I have are with people who do it not once a week, but rather like something where you see them for multiple hours in a day. You know, people immediately come to mind are like Pandolfini, with a variety of kids, Caruana being one of them, Waitskin obviously being the other. You got Miro and Cher with a bunch of people. Fabi again comes to mind with Miro, but also Robert Hess. And then my favorite example would be Malik, who just moved in with Levon Aronian's family, you know. And so that's what a real coach would be like, you know, someone who's just on you all the time, and where you just fight it out for hours. Another great story that just came to mind was Fedorowicz got hired by the Komskis, and it's just analyzing all day long, again and again and again, you know, without the computer, just over and over, position after position. And of course, old Fed was exhausted, man. That's hard work. That's really hard work. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, or you could say, instead of Aronian adopted someone, you could say Malik adopted Aronian. Either way, it was a mutual adoption.
Yeah.
And also, it's hard to imagine for me, basically, let's just say for me as a coach, let's call it impossible. There's no way I could just move into some kid's house at this point, you know?
But that immersion is so useful, I think.
Well, that's the dream, right? That's the dream, is to have some kind of crazy immersion that would, you know, it happen with a full-time coach. Yeah, it's kind of like a magic Hogwarts kind of vision for me, and I'm sure for other people as well. You know, to have that going on. There was a couple kids I worked intensely with, but never like, you know, super duper crazy intense.
We should go to
Todd's game.
Todd's game, yeah.
I assume he's winning, but let me pull this up and see if the kid can confuse him. This is where the kid, once he realizes that he's worse, once he realizes he's worse, then he's going to dig in and can play some good moves. All right, so when we left this party, we were stopped at Queen B4. Todd played the very fancy Knight E4, and that way he doesn't have to fix the pawns. King B2, and now King F8. Interesting move. Now, okay, Ko, so you have to help me out. Obviously, the kid feared something after Rook takes F3, but because I get it. On Rook F3, there's Rook D F1, and then Black has to exchange the rooks, which is something he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Right? So King F8, Rook G F1, G5, and definitely lost, but here White has to play some good moves. And let's say the obvious thing is that pawn on D6, especially if the king somehow managed to come to a square like D7, you know, that pawn could be conceived of as a weakness as well. G5 is, of course, the move of an optimist. You know, the move of a kid who just thinks he can do anything. But it might still be a good practical move, because now White has to think about how to make progress, and it's not immediately obvious what he should do. So I'm going to go ahead and say there's more than one move here after which he's going to be much, much better.
Well, how about Knight D5? Yeah, Todd just played. This was my first instinct.
Okay, Knight D5. Now, the only mildly scary thing, of course, is that a bunch of stuff is hanging. Let me double check this. Yeah, he spent 3 minutes and played Knight D5. Looks right. And let's say the dream is to win the pawn on C5 and to have the rollers.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So either Rook E2 or Knight D5, they will probably transpose. So let's say Rook E2, King B3, and Knight D5. This looks abysmal. And let me just say, in all these positions, if the bishop ever took, I'm assuming just d7 and it's all over.
Right. Yeah.
So that does look infuriatingly bad. But let me just ask a quick question. Rook e3.
Go back.
Check. Right, and the king could have started off on that square too. Totally winning, right? I don't see anything for the kid, honestly.
Yeah.
So, right, crunch time for the kid. If after knight d5, which looks like a good move, he plays something like rook e2 and knight e8, there's still knight b6, and the blockader is going to get moved. Yeah, I like knight d5. I'm sure that it seems like there were other ways too, but we're just trading it down, try to scratch that d5 pawn. The kid's getting schooled in a position where he was, went back and forth. But in this, the hyper optimism at its worst.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever watch my monthly show, but I do this monthly show where I go over people's games, and there's a guy there who goes by Paul in New Jersey, and he's the absolute opposite, and he's always submitting these games where he's overly modest, overly pessimistic about his position, and it just, at a certain point, it sounds funny. Sometimes I even think he's trolling me because, just the tone of voice is like this, oh, woe is me kind of thing. Right. I play so terrible. And it's interesting just to contrast it with a guy like Sully, who's always so optimistic, so optimistic. And I think in general, that one of the takeaways I've gotten from Paul in New Jersey is it's probably better to be an optimist.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if you're a pessimist, it's just like the woe, the bitter woe of the situation is so demeaning and just like, hopeless feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know Paul, but a lot of times I feel like people who are pessimistic, they end up, well, it's like when they lose, then it's like they were right. They were right to be pessimistic. So it's almost like they're giving themselves permission to lose. But yeah, not good for the competitive side of chess.
Question, do I know the kid's name? We're saying the kid. Which kid are we talking about?
I think Sully.
Yeah, Sully. Yeah, Sully is in Golden, Colorado, just outside of Denver. He and his brother are pretty good chess players, and they're both kind of going for it. And Sully's working a lot, and his brother. And like a lot of kids, the problems aren't necessarily just chess. Like this game, to me, had nothing really to do with chess skill, right? He just, like, if you want to call it a skill that he's lacking in this game, it was the inability to slow down and think about it for a little bit. I did a video actually called Why Fischer Wasn't Ready in 1960. That was a game against Gligorich I talked about. And there, too, is kind of an interesting problem/question about somebody who was making superficial decisions that were killing him. They were just killing him, and nothing really to do with chess skill, just like pure disaster. Pure disaster positionally, and like just because let's call it a lack of chess maturity or something like that.
Yeah, mental skill. No, really important. I mean, especially, actually I made this point in the Puzzle Rush video. It's like if you get into a habit of quitting every time you get one wrong, then during the game, if you make a mistake, you're in danger of jeopardizing your whole position, even though things might still be playable. Like if you had like a really good position and you realize you've messed it up, things might still be good, but some players, they like can't come back from that. They just get tilted, and then Well, as you say, mistakes come in pairs. They just keep
Right.
messing up. Do you think top players need sports psychologists? I mean, I think they definitely use them, and yeah, I think they are helpful, 100%.
You know, one thing that's hilarious I got out of the book that Nikitin wrote about coaching Kasparov is Kasparov was like, so let me just back up and say a lot of people know this. Kasparov's mom was hugely influential. His dad died when he was like 7 or something like that. So the mom's very influential, as well as like the, let's call it the people at the top of the Azeri, as Azerbaijan then was like a satellite state, and they had their own politicians and whatnot. But they, of course, wanted Kasparov to do well. In any case, they got him, the mom and the Azeris got him during the Karpov business to like have deep combos and with this, like, let's call him either a medium or a psychic or a sports psychologist. He was all of that wrapped into one. And that guy turned into, imagine, this is one of the things about being a coach, is that dream of control of responsibility over the student. It generally doesn't happen just on a human level. Like, people don't want to give you that responsibility, and then they go off and then like meet with a medium, and you're just like, wait, we were studying chess and we were working on it, buddy. What are you doing going off talking to a medium? And then like the medium was like making big decisions in the match as to what should go down.
Oh no.
It's just like, oh no, right? Absolutely, oh no.
Last thing you want is non-chess players making chess decisions.
They also had this guy who was working with Kasparov to mellow him out at the board. Like, there would be like breathing techniques and stuff. And I know that the Russian guys, like Kramnik and the rest of them, even after the fall of the Soviet Union, they were doing weird stuff with coaches and yada yada that it's be hard for us to even imagine, I think.
Yeah, Kasparov was the tryhard, exactly.
What do you know? Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means.
Tryhard is a slightly derogatory term for people who are like really competitive. Because they're trying hard. Because it's like, I guess the slight is like, oh, you're trying hard. It's like, oh, so you must care. Wow. like, oh, you're.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not cool to care. Everyone knows that.
That's like an interesting thing. I feel that attitude goes back to like the aristocracy and the gentleman's C. I don't know if you know about that. You know, like right, you weren't allowed to try hard in your various pursuits. Things were supposed to seem easy. Let's take a look at Vishnu's game.
Yeah, he found something interesting. This position we were thinking.
96, rook c7. Actually, it went. A lot of it happened the way we predicted.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. So rook b1, bishop c3.
So this move, yeah, we were looking at knight d4, knight c5. But bishop c3 might be nice, because now black can think about taking on e2 and get the two bishops.
What happened here? But wait, okay, now, okay. I still don't get it though, Kostya. Like, the knights hang, all the same problems, unless there's some tactical thing here, all the same problems I see happening. Like, all of white's pieces are good. The knight on d6 is great. Black's got all this loose junk. No, I don't. Well, spar with me here, because you obviously think black's doing great, and I don't get it. So, play us a couple moves and see.
Let's say rook takes e2.
All right, my move is forced.
No, I'm gonna try this one.
Okay, fancy. I wonder if I can get fancy too.
Uh-oh.
Actually, there's some. I was gonna say knight b5, but maybe You're the one, I have no idea what's going on there, because at later, like, I was thinking bishop f2, king f1, but then maybe I'm tricking myself because you have
no.
bishop d4.
Right. That's funny.
That's pretty crazy. Okay, so let's think about it for a second. Yeah, I don't know who's tricking who yet. Okay. So I feel like worst case scenario, I have a slightly worse ending after bishop e3. I'm gonna call it a draw. Oh, okay. No, maybe. Yeah, that's a draw. But I could also play bishop h4. But the sake of the argument, just because you think that black has something, I'll play bishop e3. The killjoy that I am.
Let me try this.
Fancy. Very fancy.
Yeah, I'm playing for keeps. It looks like Todd has won.
Yeah, congratulations, Todd, dude. Yeah, you were in trouble, but he muddied the waters with c5. You were like in tune with him. You were the psychic sports psychologist at that moment. And yeah, you were right. Absolutely. And I got to talk with Sully, man. I don't know. He's not gonna. I don't know if he'll listen to me, but that's some of the things we're gonna be working on.
Yeah, you should have crushed it that game.
Mm-hmm. It's so weird in this position. I'm not really certain you're threatening anything, but maybe you are. So I better worry about it. One cool thing is if I ever play king f1, you do have like tricky businesses with the c4 pawn.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very fancy here, by the way. I'm trying to do very fancy things too.
Hey,
I'm
Todd.
not sure I am doing anything. Okay, I'm just going to do that one, Kostya. I don't know.
Okay.
I wanted more. I'm going to admit it. I wanted more, but I did that one. Yeah, you can win the pawn here, but it's the kind of thing I'm not sure you want to.
All right, I'll take it.
All right, so snip, snip, bishop h6.
Right. What did I want here? Maybe some genius bishop d4 again.
Oh, that would be very genius. Okay, okay. Now you're showing me something. Now you're showing me something. Again, though, I'm not sure who's tricking who. Let's play king f1. Oh, maybe you got a trick. Watch, rook f2,
Yeah.
king e1, and now maybe this one.
Yep.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about it yet, but maybe.
No, I'm playing it.
No, I'm playing it. Maybe you're doing a magic. Maybe you're doing some good magic. No, that was good magic. That was excellent magic. That was positionless. But wait, what about? And so Yeah, what about king f1? I don't understand. Again, I don't know who's tricking who on this.
F1. Guess we go here.
Hi. E4 is forced.
Yeah. Huh. It's annoying.
Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All kinds of weird stuff happened. Oh, that's actually kind of sort of what happened. We're on rook takes b3 here. So where are we? We're at this position over here, rook takes b3. And you played the amazing bishop d4, which I liked. And, you know, instead of bishop b3, I didn't really see anything wrong with bishop h4, but yeah, it's the kind of thing that black can, you know, search.
Yeah, it's very slim for black. Right.
I lost a formative game to Nick DeFermian ages ago, kind of a similar position where it just seemed like I was fine, and then all of a sudden it was a two bishop kind of thing. Right? Two bishops took over the position. And so if black's going to have something, it definitely has to be something magical, like bishop e4. He played bishop e5, and okay, so there might be similarities to what we just did. So let me just say the obvious. The problem with winning the pawn is generally just that you're going to give me, usually you're going to give me the dark square bishop, in which case
Yeah.
I have great compensation. So rook e3 after bishop e5 could be a default move for white if he doesn't find anything else fancy, right? In which case, I guess you got to take on e3, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So you got to take, and then I could play fe. It's totally possible for me to play fe, but I guess the point would be to just say I'm threatening c5 here. So your only chance would be to wait. You could snip on c4. Maybe you can snip on c4. No, maybe you can snip on c4. What am I saying? Oh, maybe you snip on c4. Maybe you snip on c4.
Yeah, it might be fine. Yeah.
Okay, in which case that's still an advantage. So bishop e5. This would be great for Vishnu to win this, just because I think one of the things of the whole group with Vishnu and Mitch and a lot of the other guys in the group was just how to squeeze some juice out of an endgame position. And yeah, here the rook on b3 is a little funny, and the unopposed bishop on e6 is doing its work, and so
Yeah, definitely.
some problems for him still to solve. By him, I mean white.
Yeah, definitely some problems. I agree with you that it should be holdable, but yeah, there's always ways to go wrong. So nothing is free.
Nothing's free. Maybe. It's so cool that every time I go after, I can't tell you how many times I've thought about playing king f1, and then every time some terrible tactic with bishop c4.
Yeah.
Bishop c4 is going to happen. Yeah. Okay. So, his opponent's thinking. My student's kind of gone passive. He's done this thing that you see a lot where somebody wins some pawns and then tries to trade everything off, and then it can sometimes get kind of freaky. And honestly, already right now, I'm not happy with the way this is going for Black. I still completely think he's winning, but I'm just not happy about it.
Yeah.
There's freaky things that are happening.
I know what you mean. Players, like, they just want to win without, like, any difficulty.
And then they don't respect their pieces, you know? They're like, doing weird stuff with their pieces, like knight c8 and letting that knight into d6, which is totally unnecessary. I mean, it's still winning, unfortunately, for John Davis. At this point, John Davis maybe deserves the crimes by Black were significant enough. He deserves to be winning it himself. But he's got a huge time advantage too, so it's still not over.
Funny. Well, he does have the second rook super ready to go to g2 right now, so there is some very much some potential.
Yeah, at least he, I don't think it actually does anything after g6, but right, it's scary looking for sure.
Yeah. Oh, knight b5. I was thinking about this move. Oh, I should have called it.
I mean,
it's such a John Davis move.
It's a John Davis move. I don't even know if it's any good, but it's a John Davis move. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, just stuff.
What else we got coming up in this next week? You guys, tell me about you and Dave have been doing some great shows, man. I want to know more about the shows you guys are doing.
Yeah, we've been trying to stream a lot. So let's see. Well, I will be continuing the Puzzle Rush guide. I'm pretty happy with how the first one turned out. It was more of an overview. Now in the next parts, I'm going to focus more on like chess patterns and the tactics and stuff. And I'm really excited to do some videos on like thinking techniques, like typical calculation tricks. I also want to do some rating guides, getting from 0 to 800 to 1200 and going up. I think those are really fun. Let's see. Yeah, we're try to get this league going, this rapid league, maybe a team. Those guides you can find on YouTube along with all of our videos, and upcoming videos as well. Yeah, we just had this new course, Endgame Videos by David. Jesse just put up his huge 2-hour game analysis stream that you guys should watch if you haven't already. I think it's one of the most instructive things ever, just to go through games of amateurs and learn from other people's mistakes. Because I'm sure we all do similar stuff. Whew, let's see. We'll have Norm Hunter tomorrow, maybe Title Tuesday on Tuesday.
What do you mean maybe? We're doing it, buddy. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll do it. I'm pretty sure I'm all in, no matter what.
Yeah, I'll probably play too.
And when are you guys going to do that between two sensei thing? Are you going to do that? Is that going to be a...
So I think that's going to be every Sunday, 2 hours before this show, 1 to 2 p.m.
Oh, but you didn't do it today.
We did.
You did do it today.
Well, that's why we had to end the co-chess stream at a little...
Oh, man, you were busy today. You did 3... Did you do it? You did 3 streams today.
Yeah.
You did what are we talking about? 7 hours? 7 hours of streaming? Dang.
Is that... No, a little less, but it's 2 hours. It's 6 hours basically.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You need a break, buddy.
Yeah, I'm tired.
You need a break.
Just guys, go do some Puzzle Rush, and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll talk about it, and then go do some more.
So how long is the Puzzle Rush series intended to be?
It's gonna be at least 3 more videos. I think I'm gonna do 3 videos of like typical themes, for beginners, intermediate, advanced, something like that. I mean, kind of like a range, 0 to 15 or 0 to 20 puzzles, 20 to 30, 30 plus, something like that. And then I think I'll do a video on viewer questions. So if people have specific questions on Puzzle Rush or stuff I didn't cover, we might do a video on technical stuff, talk about what kind of mouse people should buy if they think that's important.
What kind of mouse they should buy?
People always ask, they're like, what kind of mouse do I need for Puzzle Rush? And that's a very common question.
Oh, do you have a special mouse?
No, but I'll tell them the truth. I'll tell them what I use. I'll tell them what other people use sometimes, and I'll tell them how much it matters.
Does it matter? I mean, I
No,
just have
no.
the cheapest thing.
I mean, it can help like 5%. It can help make you feel better. You know, your hand might enjoy it
No.
more, but no, it's not like it's not critical.
Okay.
Whew, but yeah, let's wrap it up there. It's super warm.
Yeah, it's warm in my place too. I'm sweating. People can't see it, but I'm sweating. I'm predicting that Eric's gonna win, and then with Vishnu, anything could still happen, man. He's got his opponent sweating after Bishop E5, so anything can still happen.
Yeah, draw's likely, but we'll see.
And it'll be fun to check out Norm Hunter as kind of a continuation of this show tomorrow to talk about Todd and the kind of couple of move choices that got him in trouble there, and his sense of how bad it was when it looked bad. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jesse. We'll see you.